Charlie Kirk often goes to colleges for open debate, and this one was incredibly interesting.
Ran Gaza up until 2005?
Same thing.
No, Israel did. Israel used to occupy the Gaza Strip. 10,000 Jews left Gaza. The IDF totally withdrew. Why did Israel do that?
You tell me. You're the one at the table.
To pursue peace, because they were promised a peace deal if they got out of Gaza.
And
Then Hamas took over as mayor of Gaza, and it's now a hot tub for terrorists, where there are thousands of rockets every single month.
Where was the peace that happened after they withdrew?
Exactly. Israel signed a peace accord, and the PA violated it.
But
So this is the way peace.
occupying territory.
They weren't occupying; they got out.
But you just said Israel occupied that territory.
Correct.
In Gaza until they got out. So that's not.
No, but they got out on a condition of peace. So they said, we will get our 10,000 Jews out of Gaza. So 10,000 Jews used to live in Gaza.
Failed to recognize that they were occupying someone's territory, and that's
Well, so who is Gaza's territory? Whose is that?
It's Palestinian.
Egypt. It's been Egypt for 2,000 years. Okay. So since you understand this, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Israel left in 2005, and people still say it's an occupation. So they left in order to obtain peace. It didn't bring peace, because look at what happened on October 7th, and people still accuse them of occupying the Gaza Strip. So what did they gain? What did we gain? We gained nothing from leaving. That's why we should have never left. People will call us occupiers, colonizers, whether or not we are.
How did Israel win back that territory?
Sinai deal.
Right. So in the 1967 war, they pushed back Egypt all the way to their borders, and so they gave up the Sinai Desert in pursuit of peace with Egypt. That worked. So then they kept the occupation of Gaza, which there's factories and rolling hills and vineyards, a lot of wealth there. There's 2 million people that live in Gaza, more or less. 10,000 Jews lived on the eastern skirt of Gaza. So in pursuit of peace, in the 2005 peace talks, Israel said, you know what? We want peace. And as a condition, we'll get out if you guys have real peace with us. Stop launching rockets, stop building terror tunnels, stop killing our children, all these sorts of things. Are you pro-Hezbollah or?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, happy to.
What formal education do you have?
Plenty.
I mean, formal education. There's like a
If you're going to argue from authority, that's a logical fallacy. Tell me why I'm wrong. Don't tell me how many degrees you have.
Don't ask me to change the conversation.
I'm
100%. That's like one of the worst arguments to make. Say, because I have this piece of paper, I'm more important than you, and my opinion matters more than you. It's disgusting.
Actually, I would argue I'm more informed because I didn't go to college, and I've traveled the world, and I've met with world leaders, and I've read many books. So tell me,
Oppressive to a lot of minorities that you've met around the world.
how am I oppressive? Can you name one example of how I'm oppressive?
I can name a lot of examples.
Can you name one?
but I'm not
Name one
sure.
example of how I'm oppressive, because you just
You are
said it.
literally here telling people that they are wrong about views and their
Well, no, they just don't have facts. Can you tell me one time that I've been wrong about anything I've said? Tell me a time that Israel has launched an offensive war.
to Lebanon.
They didn't. They're attacking Hezbollah. It's within their
It
borders.
was to Lebanon. They don't just attack.
Hezbollah occupies southern Lebanon, which is Iranian funded, is it not?
Really? I had no idea. Thank you for informing me.
Anytime.
That is
Maybe if you
so-
didn't go to college, you would learn more.
Oh, you're so right. You're so right.
Here's the thing. But like IDF is a terrorist organization.
How is the IDF is a terrorist organ?
Yeah. No, according to a lot of people.
Wait, hold on a second. The ID.
Not me, but like a lot of countries around.
Why is it that they haven't built a new?
It's very easy to say, according to a lot of people this, or according to a lot of people that. There are a lot of people that believe that the earth is flat. Does that make it true? No. Obviously, the earth is not flat. Obviously, IDF is not a terrorist organization.
School or hospital in the last 5 years. Hundreds of millions of dollars poured into Gaza. It's because Hamas runs Gaza right now, and they're a terrorist organization. So Israel got out of Gaza in 2005 in the pursuit of peace. 10,000 Jews were actually forced out of their homes in the pursuit of peace. Gaza got more dangerous. It became a hot tub for terrorists. You know where Hamas's money is being spent? On terror tunnels and rockets being shot towards Tel Aviv. Where were those 2 rockets shot 2 weeks ago out of? They were shot out of Gaza. Yeah, 2 rockets. Oh, what's the big deal? Yeah, who cares when Jews have rockets shot at them, right? Because Israel is fighting a defensive right for its own national sovereignty. All Israel has done since 1967 is go backwards. All Israel has done.
The UN sent an Asian diplomat, I forget his name exactly what it was, to go.
And by the way, that's not a good thing. A lot of people tout it as if it's a good thing. Oh, they're so moral. We're so moral that we give away all our land. That's not a good thing. You know, we keep on going backwards. Soon there's not going to be an Israel if we keep on giving them land and giving them excuses to call us colonizers. If it's our land, we should keep it. If it's not our land, give it all away. You know, You can't just say, oh, part of it's our land, part of it's not our land, or we're going to give some of it away because we don't want to deal with you. The second you give a little bit of it away, they look at it like the whole thing is theirs. And that's why a two-state solution would never work.
Investigate crimes against humanity in Gaza. Israel did not allow him to enter Gaza because they said his visa wasn't valid, and that was published in an Israeli newspaper.
Okay, so I'll have to look into that. If that's the case, then I'll say that you're correct. But here's the question, though. So Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East right now. They're practicing democracy. Muslims, Jews, and Christians.
Israeli citizens vote in the upcoming elections then?
Well, they can. Hold on a second. First of all, many Palestinians in Palestinian Authority, that is in Zone B, not Zone A, can vote in elections. Secondly, here's the question: you want them to be able to vote both in PA elections and Israeli elections? Why hasn't the PA had an election in 12 years? Mahmoud Abbas is a dictator of the PA that uses the money and the aid that we give him to enrich himself. Mahmoud Abbas. Hold on a second.
Yeah, and people like to tout the Palestinian Authority as this peace-loving type. They're not peace-loving at all. They're the wolf in sheep's clothing. And in some ways, they're worse than Hamas, because Hamas, you could look at them and you can see exactly what they are. When you look at the Palestinian Authority, they're like the wolf in a suit. You know what I mean? So they're dressed up nice and peace, but in reality, they're just as bad.
Hold on. Hold on, but I thought he was democratically elected. So why don't you guys have students against the Palestinian Authority, not students against Israel? The Palestinian Authority.
Palestinian Authority isn't holding guns against Palestinian children.
Palestinian Authority was democratically elected 12 years ago. Mahmoud Abbas has not had any checks and measures against him. In Nablus, he lives in a 25,000 square foot mansion. Here's the bottom line: is that Arabs are better served under an Israeli government than under the Palestinian Authority government. Arabs are. I'm sorry, what? Wait, I'm sorry, what?
When they're in the ground dead, that's where a majority of Palestinians end up.
What are you? A majority of Palestinians end up dead? How dare you say something like that? There's 15.5 million people that live in the Palestinian Authority. Half of them end up dead? So you're trying to tell me that 7.5 million Palestinians have been killed? Is that what you're trying to say?
7.5 million live in the. I've never seen that number.
Well, it's actually 50.5 million is if you count the PA and Israel together. You're right. It's more 6 million in Palestinian Authority, 9.5 million in Israel proper. So it's about 15 combined. So 6 million. So you're trying to tell me 3 million people have been killed? 3 million people have been killed by the IDF? That's not even close to being true. So let me ask.
Listen to me. There's a difference between Zionism and anti-Semitism.
Then build it out for me.
You don't support the state of Israel doesn't mean.
So let me get this straight. You don't hate Jews. You just hate the Jews' right to exist in their homeland.
You're not even Jewish. You can't speak for me.
Okay.
Wait, hold on a second.
Okay. Yeah. So that's been debunked. Everyone knows. At the end of the day, you don't hate Jews, but you hate the Jewish state. Does that make any sense? Like, would I say, I hate all Arab states, but I don't hate Arabs? Well, why do you not like the Jewish state? Maybe it's because there's Jews in the Jewish state.
You want me to exist, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the worst identity politics argument. Just because I'm not something, it doesn't make me wrong.
You're saying they're getting so triggered by the fact that he's not Jewish and he's defending Jews. It's like the worst thing in the world. It's like you have the Jews, and then below that you have the people that defend the Jews.
It's apartheid state of Israel.
That's not in line with conservative politics.
How so?
Because there is no separation of church and state.
Then why can let me ask you a question? Why can Christians freely practice their religion in Israel, but Jews can't freely practice their religion in the Palestinian Authority?
How are Jews not
practicing it?
What happens if an Israeli citizen goes into a Bethlehem?
They get killed.
What happens if a Jew goes into Bethlehem? If a Muslim goes into Jerusalem, they can go to a mosque. That's what happens.
Do you know what happens at Al-Aqsa?
Al-Aqsa Mosque?
People are turned away because they can't pray in their own place.
Well, hold on a second. They have full access to Al-Aqsa Mosque. I was there myself. I was around 500 Muslims on the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Hold on a second. Jews' heads are cut off in Hebron if they go to Hebron. Jews and Israelis are not allowed in Palestinian Authority. So I was in Hebron 3 weeks ago. You know what happened? If a Jew goes to Hebron, their head will get cut off. Okay, so Jews are not allowed in the Temple Mount. You do know that, right?
And not necessarily. will Jews get their heads cut off if they go to Hebron? I mean, certain parts, maybe yes. Definitely some Jews can get access in certain ways, but yes, we do have restricted access to a lot of our holy sites and holy sites that Islam claims that are theirs, when in reality they're ours, like the cave of the patriarchs, for example.
No, I'm saying Palestinians, Muslims going into Al-Aqsa.
Right. So
Yes.
it's very hotly debated.
No, actually, when
No,
I
it
was
is.
there, I was praying at Al-Aqsa, and I saw IDF soldiers coming in while I was praying.
Did
How
they
do you
stop you?
explain
Did
that?
they stop you from praying?
They throw like tear gas.
No, no, they don't. Not the Al-Aqsa Mark. Did they stop you from praying?
I shouldn't be in fear while
But they don't do what you say they're doing. I'm just telling you, it's not true. Did they? But I don't think you're representing
I
reality.
was literally there.
So let me ask a
Just Jews being in the presence is like a dangerous thing, just it's like so uncomfortable to be next to a Jew. Ugh.
question.
She wasn't there, that wasn't happening, but she understood that it was happening in other times around that moment.
When I
I've
was there, you should not be able to prove your religion. You should be able, if a Muslim
okay,
wants
that's
to-
a really interesting point. So Jews should be allowed on the Temple Mount because the Muslims don't allow them on the Temple Mount right now. The Jordanian control the
But
Temple Mount.
It was since the Prophet Muhammad. It was there since the Prophet
Oh,
Muhammad.
okay, so do you think? Here's the thing. So do you think Jews should be allowed on the Temple Mount?
It's a.
So you don't think it's a Temple Mount? Because if you do, that's the very interesting thing. If you just say it's a Temple Mount, I'm putting you admittedly in a very difficult position because Muslims do not recognize it as a Temple Mount.
Right, they recognize it as their place of worship, and it's been that way since the beginning.
No, it's been the Temple Mount since King David. Thank you very much. So, I mean, you could say whatever you
That's
wanted to
just the
say.
point, that's-
It's unbelievable. The time is literally recorded in history, and yet it's still hotly debated. Whose is it? Whose is it? The Jews were there 3,000 years before, or 2,000 years before, and the Muslims, show up, and they're still debating whose is it.
It's a huge point. It's actually it's one of the biggest inhibitions of peace. I think that Jews and Muslims and Christians should all be allowed to go to the Temple Mount. Right now, Muslims do not allow Jews to go into the Temple Mount. One rabbi is allowed to go in once a year. That's it. That's the treaty. Why is that? How is that fair? Why are Jews not allowed to go? But I mean, Muslims are allowed to go to their holy sites. You just said you were allowed to go.
Okay, but so people doesn't mean that other people aren't allowed to go.
And if that's the case, then I'll totally denounce it. But you are a living example that you were allowed to go now. So.
Wow, illuminating. These people, the saddest thing about this whole thing is that these people are driven by kindness. They are driven by the fact that they do want to be kind, and they feel like they need to be on the right side of history. If this were any other time, there would be way less protests and way less people out on the street. But because people care about other people, they are getting out there, and they're completely misguided, and they're completely wrong about all the issues. For more videos, please click here and subscribe for more, and go to www.buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored to support us and help us make more of these.